very game.
You've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless times, likely without even knowing, at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. Now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast section of landscape construction materials. They sell in bulk to save you money, and you can buy anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere. Stop by 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday and 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Go to gelandscapesupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
Hey, moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash the fun. Visit Haymarket Park all summer for fireworks Fridays, souvenir Saturdays, Sunday family fun days, and more. With 50 home games can be unforgettable. An event, make it a home run with count. The whole family will enjoy the fun with the Salt Dogs. Call 402-474-2255 or visit saltdogs.com for tickets.
The days of internet contracts and heavy fine print are over. It's time to experience hassle-free service with no contracts or hidden fees. That's the Allo promise. Allo Communications provides fiber internet, TV, and phone services with fair and no-nonsense pricing. All backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, 24/7 local support 365 days a year, and a monthly bill you can count on. Don't settle for gimmicks. Settle for hassle-free with Allo. Visit us at allofiber.com/hassle-free.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club, or space club, and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? No, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, burnt pineapple, and mango tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco baskets. Grab the crew and head on over Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. The home of Kansas City Royals baseball. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Welcome in to the Breeze. Take it up.
Thank you for hanging. Yeah, and you just had an hour with the boys. Specifically, you're missing it. Crazy. Austin, I goofed. I mistagged you on Twitter. My bad.
Oh, it's all good.
My bad. I forgot the hyphen thing. Your underscore.
Yeah.
You underscore and. That wasn't there. 402-464-5685. Start a Hammond text line. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, the streams are up. Of course, that's how you're following us. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter Live, or you could jump on Allo 951 and catch what we're doing and hang out with us. Interesting week in the sports that we generally cover on the Breeze and generally in this space. We'll talk hoops, we'll talk NFL, we'll talk Major League Baseball, whatever the happening sports story is. But then when there's fighting going on, we like to talk about that. UFC had a big night last night. WWE had a big week. Maybe the WWE may be having its best month-long stretch that they've had in decades.
That's a statement.
Decades. Maybe the best storytelling and story writing that they've had in a long time, maybe since Triple H and Rock and Stone Cold.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, but that's they're in that space. They're still trying to figure out what to do with some of their people, and I'm curious because I look at it. I don't know, like I talk to wrestlers, like I actually talk to them. So you hear some of what goes on. But I'm always interested and curious about how fans who are distant from it think about things and how they process things. So I'll ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, Austin, if I said pro wrestling, where are you on the scale? From 0 to I don't care, I've never watched it, I don't know who any of the people are, to 10 in that you're you don't miss it, and you're aware of the story. As a matter of fact, you're like Haas and DP and Harrison, in that we look at it as a soap opera, and we want to write the story ourselves.
I'm no Bach.
Yeah.
I'll say that
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
I am probably a 5 in name recognition.
Okay.
I can name some. I can
Okay.
tell you generally some of the eras. I am a negative 0.5 in terms of actual knowledge of what's gone on. And I love that you described it as a soap opera, because that might be a way to get me into it. Because, soap operas have the rap, their reputation, but a sports soap opera sounds like something I could get into.
So the convenience for me, like, I went into it as a kid. So I'm, born and raised in just outside of DC in Virginia. Virginia's unique in that Northern Virginia is unique in that it is tied to the DMV, District, Maryland, Virginia, that core south of Baltimore, north of Woodbridge,
Okay.
north of Richmond.
Okay.
North of Richmond. And like, we look at Baltimore funny, we look at Richmond funny, we look, we laugh hysterically when West Virginia looks over the wall to see how civilizations work.
I was going to say, West Virginia doesn't know the second thing about civilization.
Right. Like, it's like to pay attention to it. And then back in the 60s and 70s, there was just, on television in DC, you got WWWF at the time. So Bruno Sammartino was the guy. You got it every weekend. As a matter of fact, it was like, again, you had 4 channels. Like, okay, like, what am I?
Your options are 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. Like, it's like, okay, so you're telling me to watch wrestling. And then when we got cable, I was in high school, I want to say. So 75-ish, 77, cable was and changed my life.
Game changer. It is.
Changed my life, because I had been married to the Redskins, the Bullets at the time. And even the early phase of the Bullets, that 60s era, they were in Baltimore. They weren't even in DC.
I was going to say, how did Baltimore take losing the Bullets to DC specifically?
Oh, they hated it so much. And we were like, oh, give it to the big boys and let us handle this, you small towners. You like to think you're big city. And as soon as we said that, the Senators were taken and moved to Texas. So it was like, oh, never mind. So then we had to as baseball fans, you had to either have your fandom follow the Senators to Texas and become a Rangers fan.
Feels like that would have been weird.
Oh, like, you gave it to the worst city you could have given a Washington team to, Dallas. Like,
yeah.
Oh, knife in the back. Like, boo. It was terrible. Like, it was so much. But like the Toby Harris and like, those were our folks, and they weren't good, thank goodness. But the Orioles were good. In the 60s, 70s, they were really good. So we would make the drive, the hour and 40-minute drive to Baltimore to see Boog Powell, Brooks Robinson, Jim Palmer, Mike Cuellar.
And the guy with the second longest hit streak in baseball history, but in the National League for Baltimore.
Right. Yeah. Wee Willie Keeler, who was gone by then. But like, Davey Johnson was like, I know that Baltimore roster like the back of my hand. Don Buford, Paul Blair, like, it was just, and then they transitioned to the 70s because they went and got Frank Robinson to put with Blair and Buford. Blair was the 70s version of Andrew Jones, the most elite defender in center field. Just, he looked like a deer out there in center field. He never worked hard, but he ran down everything. It was spectacular. All the way through, even through when Camden Yards, so from Memorial Stadium. And back then, you could go see the Colts, and the Colts were better than the Redskins. They were better. Like, Johnny Unitas and Art Donovan and his storytelling, and you could go through that, and Lydell Mitchell, and like they went to Super Bowls. Colts went to Super Bowls, and it was like, oh, Redskins aren't going to Super Bowls. They're going to Super Bowls until 72, and then George Allen flipped it. Well, Vince Lombardi changed it. So 1968, 1969, Vince Lombardi retired from the Packers, came to DC. And DC hadn't won. It hadn't had a winning record. And Lombardi turned it into it's not in the rules. We don't have to suck.
We can do this here?
Like we can do that. And then to get George Allen, who, like, if the NFL had a prototype for a coach, George Allen, Tom Landry, like they were just those dudes. They wore like Dr. Tom Osborne would have fit perfectly in that space. They all wore the belly button too high knit pants with a white shirt, Dick Vermeil. Like it just didn't, it wasn't attractive. It just was. Yeah. Like you didn't know what it was.
It was NFL head coach is what it was.
Like it was just a college coach, like all coaches. And so you learned sports through the people that you were around. And WWF, Bruno was the GOAT. Like Bruno was the dude. But cable brought in Atlanta stations, New York stations, Chicago stations. And it brought in the wrestling that went on those stations. Of course, Ted Turner, he had the first time I saw Georgia Championship Wrestling, and WWF at the time, mainly they wrestled. There was very little interaction with the wrestlers, like as far as like interviews. Okay. There was only on a commercial break, and it was only to promote the next time they were going to be in DC. Like that was it. It was like, okay, the DC Army, RFK Stadium, whatever it was, you'll be here next month and build up to it. That's what they would do. Georgia, they let the wrestlers talk all the time. So you knew the wrestlers, like you knew, and it was like, what is going on here? Like they talk like these are people. These aren't superheroes. These are people. And I was like, oh. So when I got to Richmond, I was a wrestling snob. I was WWF over, and Richmond had Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, which was a partner to Georgia. So they would go from Georgia to Virginia to Richmond down to the Carolinas and everything else. And this is the introduction, or the full introduction, of Ric Flair. Like I did know none of that. Like you knew what was in the wrestling magazines, and you'd get the wrestling magazines once a month. And so you would hear about these other people, but you never saw them, you never heard them talk. And then I was like, well, my college dorm was in walking distance to Richmond Coliseum, which is where VCU played its basketball games. And wrestling would stop through once a month, maybe once every other month. Right?
I like where that's going for you.
And I was like, okay, but I was still resistant.
Really?
Like, like it's not Bruno. Like, I don't know who your champion is. Whatever. And then you start to be around it. And I was like, oh, okay, I like that dude. He talks funny. Then they start having music. Like, so wrestlers, they would play the music and the wrestler would come out. And the music would tell you what wrestler was coming out. And you go, okay, I can identify this dude. He plays Earth, Wind, and Fire. Okay. The Freebirds. They're literally playing Leonard Skinner. Like, I get who they are. Like, I know who they are. The story goes as such that really was the game changer. And some of the listeners have heard the story, but I'll tell you that. So there's a card at the Richmond Coliseum, and the main event was Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
That's a big one.
Right? Even back then, like this was a thing. It was the main event. It was a great card. Like guys like Wahoo McDaniel, names that even the basic fan would know. Ernie Ladd, who played for the KC Chiefs, was on the card. Blackjack Lanza, who he's got generational talent of kids. Mr. Wrestling 2, like they had all these people. And my roommate at the time was from this little town in Virginia called Chase City. And Chase City, they didn't even have a grocery store. They had a grocery store, but they had markets. So they had a butcher shop, fruit and vegetable market, and then a clothing market. Like you couldn't. So when he got to Richmond, my roommate, he goes, "Oh my goodness," because I took him to the store to get stuff because I was already there. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, all this in one store. We'd have to go to 4 stores to get all this stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, you're that dude." Yeah. And his dad, when they dropped him off, his dad, a white kid, right? So a white country kid who's meeting this DC brother that he like. So his world's about to change in a big way. And
can I just say I identify?
Right? Like it's like, you and him share a lot in common, actually. His name was Kip Griles. And he was just as Southern as he could be. Good dude, though. He's one of my favorite people. And his dad, like they drove 3 trucks. Mom drove a truck, he drove a truck, his dad drove a truck. And Dad, I want to say I was the first black person his dad had ever like been in a room with. Like I want to say that, and I think that wouldn't be that far off. And his dad goes, "Well, I wanted to bring you something, and he puts this like it's a milk jug. It's a gallon milk jug.
Okay.
Except for it's full and it's not milk. And I'm like, okay. What, he goes, well, it's what we make on the farm. And I'm like, oh, I've heard about that. Like, you make liquor on your farm. You've got a still. That's awesome. And he gave me this big jug, and the jug, like I flipped it. Like I just flipped the top off, and the smell just took over. Like I have never, like I had an afro at the time, and it was pretty straight and fluffy. But if it could go straighter, it did. So like it just like me putting my finger in an electrical outlet, like just straight afro, bro. And he goes, yeah, go slow with it, but. Yeah, this is what we do. And every time I come in, I'll bring you one. And I'm like, okay, I'm so excited. I don't even know what to say. Like, I didn't know what to say to him. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. And I couldn't wait to call my stepdad and like tell him, hey, I got moonshine. Like, and the funny thing was, Austin, I didn't drink at the time. I didn't drink at the time.
Well, you college athlete.
Right. Well, I didn't drink at the time. So I'm like, but I knew my stepdad would just, okay, like, boy, bring that home. Like, don't you dare drink that. Bring that home. Give it to the grown-ups. And as
don't waste it on you,
right? Like, don't like you can't appreciate it. This is a work of art. Do not blaspheme this work of art, young man. And Kip looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, the best thing about that is if you're not drinking it, it's what we use to start our tractor in the winter when it gets really cold." And I am like, like chef's kiss. Thank you, Jesus. You love me so much. You love me so much to give me the story. So I'm like, it was crazy, right? It was crazy. And he was it's Saturday morning when they moved in. They move in at 11. Mid-Atlantic Wrestling is on at 12 noon. And we had a suite, but the typical college with the desk in the middle, bed on one side, bed on the other side. And back then you had tiny TVs. You had to be a millionaire to have like a real TV. Tiny TV, those little tiny TVs that you put on your side of it. And I have the channel set and wrestling comes on and he's plugging in his and he goes, "We just became best friends." And I'm like, Yeah, but not really, bro. I'm really not into it like that, But okay. He says, hey, I've got tickets for Richmond for the Coliseum. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So when you walked out of our dorm in Richmond, there was a 7-Eleven convenience store right across the street. That's where, beer, food, whatever. Think Casey's.
Yeah.
Okay. And we go in to get Slurpees. Now, again, 18, we take Slurpees down to the wrestling match. But this caddy pulls up. This gold Cadillac pulls up. And back then, good guys and bad guys were never seen together. Like, they weren't allowed to socialize together. But I guess Flair and Dusty said, screw it. Like, we're going to ride together to this one. Let's do it. They pull them into the 7-Eleven. And, this, like, for Kip, this is like him seeing Muhammad Ali. Like, this is it for him. This is it for him. Like, he's a Ric Flair guy through and through. But I'm leaning towards Dusty because Dusty kind of talked like he was hip and cool, like he was down and down with the brothers. Like he would tell you even when he would come to DC and he goes, "These are my people."
I can hear it now.
Yeah, he talked to little people. He goes, "I come to DC, I get the best soul food. I'm not going out to just anywhere. I'm going to where my people are." And Kip is just losing it. But then it hits. Wait. How are y'all together? Y'all about to fight. And I was like, oh.
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay. This is what it is. Okay. So then they get out and they're like, okay, we're busted, right? We figured nobody would be here, but y'all are here, busted. Here's a couple, if you want to go, here are a couple of tickets. I'm like, we already took. He goes, no, these are better seats. Give me those. Those are better seats. And I look down and they're front row. They're front row seats, right? So this is okay. So literally we ran 12 blocks to the Coliseum. Like we sprinted to the Coliseum. We get there and we're in the front row. And this is for two 18-year-olds, this is the greatest moment you've ever lived in your life.
Well, yeah, you just saw Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and they just gave you front row tickets. That's the best day of the life for an 81-year-old,
This is the greatest thing ever. And as we sit there, the beer vendor walks up. Now, we're 18, and Virginia was casual about it back then. Before it was 21, it was 18. Well, as some would say, black folks look older earlier, so it wasn't really an issue. But the guy goes, here are 4 beers. And I'm like, we didn't order beer. He goes, no, the guys in the back sent you 4 beers. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, of course, what do? You put one down, you hold the other. Mm-hmm. And he goes, by the way, I'll be here after every match. So you have to finish those before the first match is over. Now, the first match, these are jobbers. Like these aren't stars.
Right.
This is the guy you would see, at the gym, but he was really a truck driver.
Yeah.
Like that dude.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's facing somebody they want to sell. Right. Mm-hmm. So when they put him on, and actually this was Barry Windham, who was young at the time. Barry Windham was maybe 22 at the time.
Okay.
But Barry Windham was Blackjack Mulligan's, who's the legend. Blackjack Mulligan, that's his son. And at the time, he was going as Blackjack Mulligan Jr.
Okay.
He wasn't using, but I knew enough to know that, okay, this is what it is. And the guy he was fighting was the jobber he was supposed to beat to make him look good. Mm-hmm. And as he comes in, the jobber, like the first time they start to wrestle, he gets punched, he acts surprised, he rolls out of the ring straight towards us. And he just grabs my beer and throws it at Barry Windham's face. And I'm like, what is happening? What is just goes on? And I'm like, oh, okay. So he grabbed the other beer, got a beer left. All right. 3 minutes later, out rolls Windham, grabs the other beer, throws it in the other dude's face. And we look at each other, we're like, oh my God, we're a part of this. This is the best. This is the greatest. So immediately we chug the beer. Like we chug the other beer, and it's the best. Like, okay, cool. And everybody around you is like, they're patting you on the back, like, okay, you guys are the coolest guys here. Like, officially, you're the coolest guys here.
You've made it. You've
like,
arrived.
Like, he stole your beer. He stole your beer. So,
wow.
Again, the match ends. Wyndham wins. 4 beers show up again, right? And nothing. But the vendor comes and he goes, you better drink those. So we're college students. Chug, slam. Like, okay, we're having, oh, you need us. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Third match, same thing. Fourth match. And now you're getting into the names. As a matter of fact, Larry Zbyszko, who was a super legend, Hall of Famer. Okay. Larry Zbyszko was in this card, and Larry Zbyszko was probably the meanest, honoriest dude ever, like in real life. And he came out, so he would just walk around the ring and just yell at people. Like he slide into the ring, throw a punch, slide back out, go talk to, hey, look at the fat guy over there. He'd go in the ring, throw a punch, come out. Hey, is that your boyfriend? What a loser. So then, but Zbyszko grabs a beer. And I'm like, oh no. But he throws it at a fan. Now, imagine that happening now. That wouldn't happen now. But in 1980, all on, man. And nobody,
like reverse Malice of the Palace kind of thing.
Nope, not a peep. Matter of fact, the crowd went crazy. It popped like crazy. Well, the only reason that Kip invited me to go with him was that he had a girlfriend who lived in Richmond, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And it was a girl that he went to high school with who was 2 years older than him, but she was at VCU and was already there, right? So that was part of why he wanted to come to school in Richmond. But she canceled on him and said, I can't make it. I can't. I got
dropped
something.
The leash for the
night.
night.
I can't do it, right? So he's like, okay, let me ask my new roomie. Well, match number 4, Zbyszko goes through, and I look across the ring in the first row directly across. And I'm like, hey, isn't that your girlfriend? And he looks across and he goes, oh, yeah. It was his girlfriend and another girl. And I'm like, what is? I'm like, well, let's go over there. Like, let's, but he's like, I'm thinking, oh, his girlfriend and got it's a hookup.
Double date. Yeah.
Let's go. He's thinking, wait a minute. You said you couldn't come. You could. So we go over, and the story begins. She begins to tell the story, and I'm like, wait a minute. You're in the front row. Who do you know? And she tells the story that as wrestlers come to town, again, they come to town once a month or 6 weeks or whatever it is, and they have young ladies in each town. Well, his girlfriend, Dolores, is Ric Flair's stop-by girl in Richmond.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, oh, boy. Oh, man. Man.
Not like this.
Oh, man.
Not like this.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what are you supposed to do?
I think I'll be back.
I'm going to go sit down.
Beer.
I'm going to go sit down. I'm going to go sit down. So we'll put a pin there. I didn't mean to go down this road, but this is kind of what we do. More, Breeze. Here on the ticket.
Repeat after me. I will not touch the fuse box.
I will probably
not touch the fuse box.
Do you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, I remember.
What happened?
Half of the city block lost power.
And?
My chicken condo went haywire.
That's right. The chickens ran wild. So what do we do instead?
Call Joe at Ambition Electric and let him handle everything. Look, saved on speed dial.
Ambition Electric, 402-217-3415, or online at ambitionelectric.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here with Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and it is Truck Month at Koppel, and we are pulling out all of the stops for this gigantic event. The lots are starting to fill, and we have some great deals for you waiting in Louisville. Brand new GMC Sierra Light Duty and new Silverado Light Duty trucks. All trim levels have up to $4,000 in discounts. That's right, up to $4,000 off all new light duty trucks right now at Koppel, so do not wait. Now is the time to buy a new truck, so stop on in or visit us online at koppelcars.com. You must have a trade-in and finance with Koppel. All deals with Roof Credit.
The best way to learn about Southeast Community College is to visit, and you can check out our spaces before you visit in person with a virtual campus tour, an opportunity to see our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, and Milford as you learn about our programs and areas of study. There are virtual tours of our learning centers too. We can even take you on a personalized virtual tour. Learn more on our website, southeast.edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
You finally finished your man cave in the basement. Brand new furniture, huge TV, and all of your collector's items. You're ready for football season. You were so excited until one bad rain and it is all ruined. Don't risk a flooded basement and countless dollars in damages when it can be avoided. Call John Henry's today for a free sump pump estimate for your home.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing. Heating and air.
Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mix Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. Nebco offers great pay, medical, and retirement benefits, paid time off, and we pay for CDL training. Apply today to earn an average total compensation of $50,000 to $60,000 your first year driving. From Nebco's beginnings in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Guys, when I first started with Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping, I weighed in at over 300 pounds. Now, less than a year later, I'm under 200 pounds for the first time since high school. I'm stronger, I'm healthier, and it all began with the Farrell's 10-Week Challenge. 10 weeks of kickboxing, strength training, and guided nutrition coaching to help you reach your fitness goals. Their next 10-week challenge begins on April 8th. If you're wanting to change your life like I have, head to theticketfm.com and click on Enroll Now on the homepage. Plus, get a promo code for a discount just for ticket listeners. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping.
Wings fans, 80s are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings, and enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, listen up. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. Plus, they're hiring service plumbers. If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
You're listening to The Breeze with DP and Haas on 93.7 and ticketfm.com.
Welcome back to The Breeze. Again, no Haas this week. Haas will be back next week. Sure enough. No Harrison this week. Harrison had a wedding. So Austin is sitting in, and I'm just burning the hair off of his knuckles with this. This was not the planned show. I just want to say this. I wanted to talk about why wrestling became relevant to me and how, but you have to tell the full story in order to and say, I mean, I became friends with Flair, but it took an exceptional circumstance for that to happen. He ended up being my roommate, not my roommate, but my next door neighbor in Charlotte. When I moved in, the moving van is loading up all the stuff, and I hear this, "What are you doing here?" And I look over, and
there's Nature Boy.
I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "I live here." And I go, "So do I." And he goes, "Oh boy." Yeah. So to tell you that my house became satellite Ric Flair's satellite house, where he would invite people to meet him there, and he could just say he was going over to Derek's, and then it took 6 months before she figured out what that meant. I fell on a lot of grenades for Ric Flair. As a matter of fact, through the course of my early career, I fell on grenades for a lot of athletes and coaches. I fell on, yeah.
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 Enough said. Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here? I'm here with DP. Yeah. She's with me. Yeah, but she's not by herself. Yeah, they're with me.
They're with me.
They're with me. Don't ask. Don't ask.
Don't ask if you don't want to know.
Like, look, it's my favorite thing to ask people, do I have your permission to tell you the truth? Most people think they want the truth all the time. They really don't. They really don't want to know how the world works. They don't want to know. They don't want to know.
The in and out, the nitty gritty.
They don't want to know.
The actual happenings. They're not about that.
They don't want to know. Yeah. So as I was, so we're there. My roommate now has to make a decision because his girlfriend is Ric Flair's date to the wrestling match, and they have plans afterwards. And Flair invites us. It was the Holiday Inn on Broad Street in Richmond, which is where the wrestlers would go that night, and they would go party, and then they'd go, like, the next night they were in Charlotte, and then they'd go to Raleigh, and then they'd go to Winston-Salem. And in the bar, in the hotel bar, it's fans. I mean, there are less nice words to use, but they're fans. And Kip has to make a business decision.
Please tell me Kip made the business decision, not the other decision.
He has to make a business decision because his girlfriend is standing in front of him in a bar on a night they were supposed to have a date. She broke the date to be on the date with him. He had to make a decision on, while Ric Flair has an arm around his girlfriend, whether this is still his girlfriend. Did he break up with her? Did she break up with him? Are they still together? But a part of him at 150 pounds, soaking wet, trying to decide if he's going to fight 275-pound Ric Flair.
It's that athletic arrogance, DP.
Right? Like,
what
it's just like, well, and it's just straight country boy is what it is. Right? It's straight country boy. And he says, he's making a decision. And I'm just looking at him like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Like, what kind of night we going to have? And Flair says, I tell you what, I got a plan for you. You can let this pass, and I'll make your night. As a matter of fact, going forward, anytime we come to Richmond, you'll have front row seats. Now, immediately, I'm stepping in. Like, whatever this thing is you're suggesting, I'm in. Like,
stop there.
I'm in.
Yep.
Like, look, sorry, Kip, I just met you. Like, I just met you. This dude talking about a 4-year plan. Like, this, this, I'm all in.
Yeah.
But the loyalty, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stand with you.
Again, I'm going to shout you out, loyalty to a dude you just met, your new roommate. Because I know a lot of people that would have stopped that conversation with front row tickets and not heard the second part. So claps to you for that, dude.
Yeah, I'm loyal. I'm still loyal to this day. That's a thing that I need to, I have to deal with on a regular basis. But then fast forward. So through the next 3 years, we're on the regular tour, and Dolores and Kip were together for another year after that, until finally, like, he got deep enough that he went, okay, I can't be that. Like, no, I can't do that. And then when I moved from Richmond back to DC, a big part of it was, when wrestlers would come to town, and again, this is WWE, and you'd meet some, and they'd cross over and do their thing. And then when I moved to Charlotte in '95, we moved to Matthews, North Carolina, which is just a little bit away from the raceway. And the moving van pulls up, and I hear this voice, what are you doing here? And I look over, and it's Ric Flair. And I'm like, what are you doing here? He goes, I live here. And he points to his house, and I'm going, well, I live here. And pointed to the house. And he goes, oh, boy. And I know, I'm like this, oh, boy. Oh, boy. So my house, with its 6 bedrooms, pool, jacuzzi, became the satellite house for Ric Flair and every pro wrestler and every Carolina Panther and every Charlotte Hornet. That at the corner of my block is Muggsy Bogues' house. Across the corner from him is Del Curry and his family. Glenn Robinson, Anthony Mason. And if you know anything about Anthony Mason, you know he lived a real interesting life. And so my house became the party house all the time. And Flair would have visitors, and he'd tell his wife, hey, I'm going over to Derek's. And that was cool for about 6 months. And then one day she just finally decided to just walk over and peek over the fence into the pool area, and all bets were off. All bets were off, and
are you surprised it took 6 months?
Yes. Yes. I wanted to know, you are Nate, you are the greatest magician I've ever seen. To be able to pull that off. But you also got the stories, because you would see the heels and the faces together. So you would Arn Anderson, who now lives in that neighborhood, they would come to town, and you would they would stay at Flair's, or they'd end up at Flair's. Ted DiBiase from Omaha, he would stop through. You would meet them as people, and a lot of times they're at your house, or you're in the arena, and you're going to hang out and party. But then you understood the business side of it. You got to hear the business side of it. You got to kind of understand what the mechanics of it was, right? Oh, this is it's its own soap opera. It's its own champion for positioning, whose personality, changing the personality profiles, who would work for X amounts of money, who would work injured. You walk up and you're like, bro, you have 12 stitches in your head. Why aren't you in a hospital? And they're like, no, I got to work tomorrow. They didn't have insurance. Didn't have you work it out. And they pooled money, pooled gas. They rode together and back then you drove the roads together. You didn't fly.
I assume it not like a Madmobile or anything.
No, they got in their car. They used their cars. A lot of them lived. They would travel. If you're at the bottom of the card, you drove, and then you stayed in a Holiday Inn with 3 other wrestlers in the same room until you made enough money, until you moved up enough where you made enough money. Flair, even back then, was making $1 million a year. Even in the early 90s, he was making that kind of money. Not everybody was, but you got to you knew the stories, you knew who the upcomers were, you knew who the real fighters were.
Okay.
Which was amazing, because they were anywhere they were, the women were, and the women had lives that existed before they came to town. And then the Kips of the world, right, who are not always 150 pounds and not always as peaceful and docile as Kip was, they want to fight. They want to fight. Bruh, you're not that. Wrestling's fake. I'll beat you up. And they're like, what I do in there is one thing. What I do out here is real. And the number of bar fights that I witnessed and / participated in, just out of proximity.
Yeah.
Just out of proximity. And back then, I was lifting all the time. I was, I was around football players and wrestlers.
You had to fit in.
Yeah, like, oh, you can't be around, No. I mean, I was walking around at 240. Stacked.
Yeah.
Stacked 240. And so you do it, but you learn the stories. Like you learn who's who. You learn, okay, head on a swivel. This one's like you knew which towns you could go to. You knew if you went to Virginia Beach, there weren't going to be any fights. If you went to Norfolk, there were going to be fights because there was military bases there, and them young Marines wanted to measure themselves. And I can tell you, that existed at every military base area that I ever like. There were times I would go on the road with the guys, and I'm not sure which is more volatile: being on tour with pro wrestlers or being on tour with rock and roll musicians.
Aren't they? I feel like, again, being on the outside of this, the vibes seem very similar.
They are just dead set the same. So Hootie, Darius Rucker and Ric Flair are like best buds.
That doesn't surprise me to learn. That does not surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of their stories are the same.
Also not surprising.
So you get to see it, and you get to see it in that space. But I was also in D.C. with nightclubs and bars that the Redskins, Wizards, Capitals frequented on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, the stories, I could write a book on just. So I'm running bars in D.C. with Dexter Manley and John Riggins in my bar on a twice weekly basis. The stories write themselves. Being in Salt Lake with Karl Malone, like, wow. Yeah. Being in Utah with Urban Meyer,
right?
Like you would think simple, right? No. We are not surprised by anything that happened with Urban Meyer. Nothing ever. Also being in BYU, being in Provo, Utah, which is different than being in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Utah's a place I haven't been, but I think I need to go. You're really selling me on Utah.
Salt Lake City, go to it's kind of the same way. So imagine that in culture, Salt Lake City is Lincoln, Omaha is Ogden, Utah.
Okay. And Ogden's Utah State, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
No, Ogden's Weber State.
Weber. Okay.
Logan
is Utah State.
Is Grand Island.
Okay.
Provo is Kearney.
Okay.
Same vibe, pace.
Sure.
Except for Logan is like farm, super farm. farm.
Yeah.
So as you travel, like you learn those things in your different places. Carolina has kind of the same thing that Raleigh. So Raleigh, Durham, that triangle area. So Chapel Hill.
Never set foot there.
Yeah, the triangle is pretty amazing, but all of the triangle looks like Haymarket.
Really?
All of it. All of it. Like you could put a bubble over Lincoln, put it in the triangle of North Carolina, and you would not know the difference. Same for Salt Lake City. Fairfax, Virginia, where George Mason is.
Yeah.
Looks
Haymarket?
Yep. Like there's a reason why those college towns exist and why the business is being done. Like why the people fit in. So it's always like for me, like I tell people, while I'm new to Lincoln, I'm not new to it because I've been around those college towns and those thinking that it's unique and different. It is different because it's surrounded by farm, but the same happened in Salt Lake City. If you left Salt Lake City proper, you're in the desert or you're in a ski resort. Like it's the same distance apart. And you can go an hour north and you're in farmland and it's just farms. It's agriculture. Logan is agriculture. So while I'm a recent resident of Lincoln, Nebraska, I'm not new to the businesses that's being done. Yeah, it's all there. We'll throw the break. We'll close out the breeze. Yeah, thanks for just going on this random show. This was just us having a conversation. We'll be right back.
Agriculture is the economic engine of the Midwest. At Acres Equipment, we dedicate ourselves to making that engine run smoothly. We supply our farmers and ranchers with quality John Deere equipment, parts, and service. We also deliver the most advanced technology and precision ag strategies to help them farm today and for the future. Acres Equipment, solutions for every field.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the attention of the Nebraska Lottery that when people hear a radio commercial in their car for one of our lotto games, Powerball, Mega Millions, or Lucky for Life, they tend to begin daydreaming about how they'll spend the prize money if they win, instead of paying attention to the road. So please, when I tell you that Nebraska Lottery Lotto games offer big money and big fun, keep your mind on driving. Do not start thinking about all the things you could buy if you win. Things like bright red sports cars, tropical vacations, 100-inch TVs, hot tubs, SUVs, a new computer, motorboats.
Bob, snap out of it.
Oh, good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Perhaps I should go home now.
You better let me drive.
Lotto games from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize per game.
Working at Continental Job, and I've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Steve's Garage Doors and Services is hiring. They are looking for a garage door installation and service technician with a clean driving record. Experience is not required as they will train for the positions. However, mechanical aptitude is required. If you want to come be a part of a small business where you're family, not just an employee, call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today to apply at 402-480-2840. That's 402-480-2840. Steve's Garage Doors and Services.
This Easter, focus on your family instead of dishes with the Venue Easter to-go meals. Prepared fresh in-house by our chefs, these meals are ready to heat and eat with packages for 2 to 3 people or 6 to 8 and your choice of juicy beef tenderloin, tasty herb roasted chicken, or our famous 6-pepper crusted prime rib. All meal packages come with sides and we have additional add-ons available to complete your feast. Order today at venuedelivered.com/Easter. That's venuedelivered.com/Easter.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
You're listening to The Breeze with BP and Haas.
Great stuff. Man, that's funny. You guys on the text line, thank you. Yeah, there was the only Gunter talk on this show is in a negative way. So Gunter, there will be no Gunter talk today. I'll say that for when Haas is here. Yes, you're listening to the origin of Ric Flair. Yeah, me and Ric Flair go way back. Iron Sheik. Okay. to say, and I kind of got into this a little bit this week, but I wanted to get back into it. So, Khosrow Vaziri is the Iron Sheik, and Khosrow, in playing one of the great heels, one never wanted to be a heel. He wanted to be an American hero. He wanted to be a hero. Period. Was an actual Olympian. Actual Olympic wrestler, and through his relationships and connections with the Shah of Iran, being security, right? Because you're military. If you're an Olympian, you're military. And he was him and his mentor. They were amongst the power people in Iran. Well, that puts you at risk. And his mentor was actually, taken from him, which led him to kind of rethink his life. Like, I need to. So he bails to America, and he was so renowned and so respected in wrestling, in Olympic wrestling, that the American team brought him on as a coach.
Did not realize that.
Yeah, he actually coached for USA Olympics. And at a high volume. I mean, he was churning out champions. But if it's not your calling, because he wasn't American. So it was behind the scenes, it was a lot of that stuff. But he found out in meeting some pro wrestlers that he could make money by being a pro wrestler, and he was actually a face. He was a good guy. He was a good guy. Greco-Roman wrestler, best in the world. Vern Gagne, from the Midwest wrestling fans know as kind of the leader in the business here, set him up, and Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell and the like. And then it was perfect timing, because they realized that wrestling mirrored American politics and culture. And as Vince McMahon was trying to create the great American hero, he thought it was Bob Backlund. It wasn't. Bob Backlund from Minnesota, All-American kid, another profound wrestler, collegiate wrestler. But it didn't land the way the McMahons thought it would. So they landed on Hulk Hogan and said he'll be our American hero that we need to build the company on and build the business on. But they needed every superhero needs a villain. And at the time, Iran and Iraq, that's the thing. And here's this super talented performer. So they cast him as the Iron Sheik, had him take the belt away from Bob Backlund, kept it for a short time, and then put him against Hulk Hogan, who was going to save America by beating the Iron Sheik. And that's what he did. And then it became, but the Iron Sheik was so good at being a heel that they took another villain, Sergeant Slaughter, the Marine.
Oh, yeah.
The Marine. And who wasn't actually, well, he was a Marine, but he wasn't a sergeant. And made him the American hero as Hogan took on the rest of the world that would battle Iron Sheik. And Sergeant Slaughter declared war. So then it became a constant battle of good Americans versus the bad Iron Sheik. And it lasted for 6 years.
That's a long story.
To have so many of them, like, because they used him to build up new stars and kind of retire old stars. But that's the storytelling behind pro wrestling that you get into, and that it always mirrors. Sometimes it's ahead of the curve, but culturally, and kind of drags us into thinking of each other in a different way. And sometimes it plays purely on the stereotypes, and sometimes you can get better from it or worse from it. But Khosrow I got to spend a weekend with him in DC. They This is when The Rock was the world champion, and they would be fed. My steakhouse would feed them, would feed the wrestlers, and then my sports bar, which was above the steakhouse, would host the wrestling fans. And we had Ivan Koloff and the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, and they were in my bar just taking pictures, signing autographs. But I was their host for the weekend, and I thought it was cool to call him Sheiky Baby because that's what he called himself, Sheiky Baby, like to make himself cool and friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of the funniest people I've ever met. Like when you could get through his conversations, great storyteller. But then in that at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they were there for Monday Night Raw, and then Tuesday we were just having dinner, and he reaches. I called him Sheiky Baby. He reached across the bar and he gave me his hand. He says, "Call me Khosrow." And I was like, "Oh man, this grown man gonna cry," because the wrestler told him he can call him by his real name, which is a big deal. It's tough to lose people like that because he's the legacy for why you love a thing, right? Wrestling at its apex never got better than Iron Sheik versus Hulk Hogan. It just didn't. It like USA chants. The first time I remember the 72 Olympics,
mm-hmm.
the Olympic gold, the gold medal team in 80, and Sheik versus Hogan are the three times that I remember the USA chants being so violent and so passionate and so deep that you just went, "Oh man." And then he came up with the song, "I'm a Real American," and everybody sang it until they got hijacked into something else. But Khosrow, the world is not better without him. It's not. It's just not. So, but that's why pro wrestling, the people behind the characters are great and they're fun to talk about. But the people, there are some great people. Rick Steamboat is one of the great people. Bruno Sammartino is one of the great people. Bob Backlund and Khosrow, really good dude. So anyway, Austin, thanks for hanging out with me.
It's been fun, DP. Thanks for the education.
We've got a full day of tickets, so don't go anywhere. Again, Royals are on the brick and mortar. We'll stream some shows for you the rest of the afternoon until Husker, Melby, and Tom Stevens show up, and then Ricky Simmons tonight. Good stuff all the way around. Appreciate y'all. Love you. Love yourself, please.
Tailored Landscapes is actively preparing for spring. Things like getting new tree orders, getting equipment ready, and training staff to serve you the best we can. If you haven't already planned, now is the perfect time to plan for your yard. We're on the brink of spring cleanups for all of our existing customers and have limited spots left. We trim trees and shrubs when needed and only mulch proper amounts. Give us a call today at 402-432-2572 to set up a meeting with one of our designers and get ready for Tailored Life's grand opening in Bennett.
You know that feeling after a good, hearty meal? The worries of the world just slip away. Time slows down. Nothing but good times and good company. That's what you get with Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Mary Ellen's does food right, with a menu that includes smoked wings, pulled pork, brisket, catfish. And don't sleep on their sides, shrimp and grits, collard greens, baked beans. It's food that makes your heart happy. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul, just east of 27th and Pineland. Let them fix you a plate.
Hey there.
Hi, honey.
Uh-oh.
Remember we told Jamie and Mike about Liberty First Credit Union, how great their checking account and car loans are, the amazing service we get, and how we love being members?
Yeah.
Well, they took our advice. Jamie said how easy it was to move all their accounts and become members. Now they say they're banking with purpose at Liberty First Credit Union.
Learn more about being a member at libertyfirstcu.com. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose. Member NCUA.
There's a lot of realtors in Lincoln, but don't get overwhelmed by all the names. Ben Blank, professional realtor, Group at Highway Ambassador Real Estate is your go-to option when buying or selling residential and commercial property. Ben's team offers unbeatable customer service and promises to make the buying and selling process as stress-free as possible. Call Ben today at 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Biker with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate. No pressure, just professionalism.
Problem gambling affects more than the gambler. It affects spouses, children, extended family members, and friends. If you are a loved one who's struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 476-2300.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a room. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful. I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman. Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure.
Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Hi, it's Charlie Stone again, and with me on the line, Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, I know how proud you and everyone at the dealership are to earn the prestigious Honda President's Award year after year, 17 times. Tell our listeners what it means to you and your customers.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, all of us are extremely proud to have earned this award, and I want all of our customers to know it's not just earned by one person's effort. It's the entire dealership, sales, and our amazing service department.
17 times. Wow. How does that compare to other Hondas?
This award is only given to the most elite dealerships that